Hello, everybody, and welcome to, well, we're supposed to be on WarCrafters for March 2nd, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 9. I am Merwat, and I run ohmtown.com, and inside that is WarCrafters. And along with the sentient AI from the future, we talk about some games during the WarCrafters show. 5 articles. We're going to start with Spy Game Fest, then Kaizen, Breakout Reboot, Deckbuilder Roguelikes, and Drop Duchy. That and more is found over at ohmtown.com, and under that is the WarCrafters channel. And everything is powered by that there ohmtown.com site. Go over and become a citizen. You can also follow us here on Twitch and on YouTube. I have the chats on both active right now, so come and hang out. Download the podcast. There's 1,900 episodes that are trapped in the matrix of YouTube and podcasts and pretty much everywhere. Anyway. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens.
Are you ready to get into these 5 articles?
I am.
There were a lot submitted for WarCrafters, which is the first show today. And then after this show is Technology Today. And then after that show is FourWheeltech. Merged together, it becomes the Sunday weekend edition of Non Sequitur News, all of which is going to be over on YouTube for the long term. For 60 days or so, it's going to be here on Twitch as well. If you're interested in all of the show notes, all you have to do is hit exclamation point and then WC for WarCrafters. And Omatron will spit out the articles in the order that we're going to go through them, but not in order of, favorite or anything like that. Anyway, hopefully you stick around and you enjoy it. And then you download the podcast and you leave a 5-star review and make a comment over on YouTube. There are no comments on Twitch, at least none that survive the Great Purge every 60 days. Anyway, let's get into it. First article is, this post will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Steam's first ever Spy Game Festival is kicking off in May. I'm pretty excited about this.
Yeah, this sounds fun.
So if you haven't heard of it, then Next Fest ends tomorrow. I've downloaded a bunch of games that I wanted to play, couldn't get around to playing, not without sacrificing my mayoral duties. And so hopefully they stay live and I don't get a whole bunch of alerts that this isn't available anymore. It's going to suck because I've probably got about 30 demos. But right on the horizon is Steam's first ever Spy Game Festival, and I love spy games and spy TV shows and movies and stuff like that, so it's always fun. So this post will self-destruct not long after mentioning how much the author of this over at PC Gamer needed more good spy games in their life. They were given a heads up via Dead Drop, naturally, about the Spy Video Game Rendezvous, a dev-organized Steam festival showcasing spy-themed games kicking off May 23rd.
Hey, what's really odd is I was about to mention, hey, we just had an article in WarCrafters about that, but that must be the one that's being referenced.
Must be. Hosted by There's Always a Madman solo dev, Sunny Demeanor Games, the Steam Fest will feature more than 30 spy romps and will run until May 30th, with the week appropriately coinciding with the arrival of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning and the 117th anniversary of Ian Fleming's birth.
Wow, I didn't know James Bond had been around that long.
I don't know how long James Bond has been around.
Well, that's probably true. Not from Ian Fleming's birth, right?
Right. I think it's 50 years old now. Hold on.
It's older than that.
Is it? Hold on. We're doing it live. 1953. James Bond's character was born in 1953. Not born. It was created.
So more than 70 years ago.
Yeah. Pretty fascinating. So Fraser Brown over at PCGamer.com put the article together. The deck statement says the spy video game Rendezvous will feature a week-long spy fest accompanied by a Spy Games Direct featuring trailers from upcoming espionage romps. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, what would be the Reacher? What is actually pretty fun. It's not really spy. But it has,
but kind of thriller type.
Yeah, if you're into that kind of thing.
Spy would be probably like Night Agent, or that's all I can come up with at the moment for a show.
Slow Horses.
Oh, right, exactly.
Yeah. So to kick off the event, Sunny Demeanor Games' YouTube channel will also host a State of the Union of spy video games showing off upcoming spy games that you might want to keep on your radar. It's a genre that could definitely use a bit more love beyond the usual stealth action affairs that spy games typically focus on. The author says that they love me some Metal Gear, but as the game most people think of as the genre comes up, it only captures a sliver of what makes the spy life such compelling entertainment. Hopefully, the author again says that they'll find some new games to add to their list in May. But yeah, there isn't anything formally online yet, I suppose. Just that they're going to be talking about it from the 23rd to the 30th. I'm there for it.
Well, yeah, I think that's a win.
Yep. Let's keep going. Next article is over on the WarCrafters channel. One of the best puzzle game designers is back with Kaizen, a factory story, a game about manufacturing Japanese consumer goods during the largest economic bubble in history. From the release of Space Chem in 2011 through to the last call BBS in 2022, indie developer Zachtronics was a legend in the admittedly small world of puzzle games that are a bit like programming a computer. While the studio made a variety of games, including a prescient visual novel about AI called Eliza. Its specialty was a kind of engineering puzzle all about refining your input to create the ideal output. Games that came to be known as Zach-likes. But Zach Barth says that they hate saying Zach-like, who both Zachtronics and the Zach-like were named after.
Well, maybe they should have named it something else if they don't like saying that.
Yeah, really. Don't call it Zachtronics. Zachtronics is dead. Long live coincidence. Jody McGregor over at PCGamer.com put the article together. Kaizen, a factory story, has a trailer, part of IGN Fan Fest 2025, apparently. I guess we can play some of it, right? And it shows the trailer here from IGN. A little bit here, a little bit there. It's kind of a...
Kind of like a sim, right?
Yeah, I mean, except that it shows programmatic automation to build something. It's kind of like how you would edit video, or make music in something like...
Oh, right. Yeah, like you see a similar program or whatever in the game.
Yeah, and it does certain things and makes certain moves and pieces together whatever it is you're trying to actually manufacture. It's kind of interesting. It's called a factory story. Kaizen, a factory story. What a weird...
That looks worth checking out.
Yeah. So it says Zachtronics is no more, however, having shut down following the release of Last Call BBS and a final collection of solitaire games. Kaizen is the work of a new studio called Coincidence, which consists of Barth and several of his Zachtronics collaborators like writer, producer, and audio engineer Matthew Burns. Barth says it's not a Zachtronics game. This is a Coincidence game, which is a totally legally distinct game studio. So I guess the attorney said, make sure you...
Right, this is not Zachtronics, everybody.
That's right.
We're not calling it Zachtronics. We're not identifying with Zachtronics.
We don't even know somebody named Zach, except for this Zach, but that's not Zachtronics. We're not even going to
acknowledge that exists.
Nope, that is not a cheeseburger that I'm eating. So It's an area of history and location that we've always kind of been interested in, says Burns, because fundamentally the games that we make are about making things, and this was a time period where the things that were made weren't just successful as products, but successful as things that we remember today. So this is the era of the Sony Walkman, Japanese camcorders, computers and consoles, VCRs, TVs, microwaves. It's the reason all those 1980s cyberpunk books and movies predicted a future where Atari would be world-conquering megacorporation and everyone would be eating ramen in the rain, which is an ironic reference, or not ironic, more prescient. Because let's move on to the next article. I think we're going to end up having to grab this and try the demo out and pay attention to this. So this could be wanted for crying out loud. You know what? Before we leave, I have to... They have a Rising Sun official theatrical trailer from 1993 embedded in this.
Well, it's tied to the theming, I think. With like the company coming to power, etc.
They mentioned the Michael Crichton book Rising Sun, and especially the movie version with Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes, and Barth and Burns say they recently watched the trailer and laughed at how ridiculous it is. It's a perfect example of the popular perception of the time that Japan was an economic powerhouse because everyone had a code of Bushido honor and a black belt. Fascinating.
You know, I don't think you often hear for video games that books, I'm not saying never, but that they're a connection. And here they're using another book called Inventing Japan. You know, it's one thing if there's a book and then it's turned into a game.
But this
is different. Yeah.
Inspirational, not...
Exactly, which is kind of fascinating.
So instead, Kaizen is about the philosophy of revision and iteration that actually helped Japan rebuild itself after World War II. But that isn't the full story about how Japan rebuilt itself. It was American engineers that went to Japan and taught the basics of engineering and systemization. And then Japan took that and injected it with their pure energy and determination to rebuild after World War II. And they dominated all the way through the 80s, 90s. Even today, I think that they're somewhat of a juggernaut, but there's certain machinations.
Think of the robotics city that we featured in, I think, Reality Hacker yesterday.
Yeah. What was it called? Oh my God, I forgot. It was from Toyota.
Yeah, I don't know. And it was engineered by somebody named Toyota with a D.
Yeah. Or at least they're involved in it heavily. Yeah. So it's a word that means continuous improvement, Kaizen. It's also the word that Toyota, when they were designing their production quality control system, used to refer to empowering people who work on the line to make improvements from the bottom up instead of the top down. If somebody whose job it is to put screws in can think of a way to make those screws go in faster or more reliably, they're encouraged to speak up and bring that up and make that improvement. They think it's a really cool idea. And I do too. I agree, because nobody knows it better than somebody with boots on the ground. And usually when you end up in admin, either you've forgotten it or you've got a different control in place because somebody higher up is pulling the money strings. And money isn't necessarily the end all be all. If your quality sucks and long term it collapses or your reputation falls in the tank. So yeah, we're going to have to take a look at this. This is astrological though. This screenshot.
Oh, okay.
Which is a different game. All the way back to Space Chem, Kaizen has been the hidden philosophy behind the Zack-like continuous improvement from the smallest details up to the top is the common element out of all of these puzzle games. Yeah, I like all of this. So
yeah, that seems fun.
There's no... you can find Kaizen, a factory story on Steam, but apparently it doesn't have a release date. I don't know if there's a demo yet, but... let me see. I can actually pull it up right now. Yeah, there's no demo, but I'll add it to my wish list so I can monitor it. I'm now at 532 things in my wish list.
How many hours will that take you to play all of those?
All of them. But I don't get a chance to play games. So. Anyway, the next article is over in Technology Today, and here we go. Remember in the last article, I was talking about Atari.
Atari must be the winner of the video game wars.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. So Atari's side-scrolling Breakout Reboot arrives on March 25th, proving that truly no IP is safe from modern reboot culture. Atari's Breakout is back. The upcoming version of the simple 1976 brick-smashing hit rotates the playing field by 90 degrees and adds auto-scrolling, neon effects, power-ups, and local co-op. In other words, Breakout Beyond is the Tetris effect formula applied to the Led Zeppelin-era arcade classic. The original Breakout was the product of a dramatically more limited 1970s hardware, but its simplicity was part of its magic. Rows of bricks sat on top, and a player-controlled paddle lived down below, and a ball would just kind of bounce around. But they talk more about it over at Engadget. Will Shanklin.
Is this the one where you have to break the different, I don't know, sections of bricks or whatever?
Yeah, until you can actually break through it, and then it bounces around like crazy up on top of it. That was one of the objectives, but the goal is to get rid of all of the bricks. So Breakout Beyond builds on the 1976 classic with neon-infused power-ups and local co-op. Will Shanklin put it together. It's over at Engadget. And it says that the ball, actually a square, thanks to 1970s graphics, bounced around in between. Move the paddle, hit the ball, smash the bricks. Wow, bell-bottom wearing arcade goers. So the core
this
formula...
isn't throwing any shade at any older gamers.
No, none at all. Well, now there's going to be... You're going to have 2 balls or more, because you could have multiple, and 2 paddles because you could have local co-op. And the wall is sideways, not on top. Wow. It's amazing, the ingenuity.
Right, rotate it.
Rotate it.
But you know what? It'll probably be a big hit.
Now you can play it while you're in bed laying on your side, and it's...
There you go.
just like you're playing it upright.
For those with nostalgia, that's right. That's the way to do it.
So the game supports 2-player local co-op. Breakout Beyond will arrive on PC, Switch, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, PlayStation 5, 4, and Atari's rebooted VCS console on March 25th. It costs $15, but there's a 10% discount if you pre-order. Sounds good. I'll have to take a look at that too. You know what? In fact, let me just break out.
We're doing it live.
We're doing everything live. Breakout Beyond. It does not have the early purchase in Steam. Sorry. Yeah, there's no early discount. So maybe if you go to,
maybe if you use the link from the article.
Yeah. If you go to Engadget.com, follow the link through ohmTown and you'll go right to it. So anyway, let's keep on going. Next article's over on WarCrafters as well. You've got to try these 5 brilliant free roguelike deck builder game demos before Steam Next Fest ends tomorrow.
Oh, that's coming up soon.
Yeah, so when the author over at PC Gamer pitched PC Gamer a list of the top 5 deck builder demos of Next Fest, Steam's Next Fest, they probably should have checked that there weren't 4 billion of the things. Still, there is a fantastic problem to have. So let's talk about these. Abby Stone over at PCGamer.com put the article together. It says, be a haunted house, play pinball billiards, and help a bird migrate with the power of spelling. All right.
Oh, that must be edutainment.
Is it though?
I'm not sure, but we were just talking about the lack of that.
The lack of, children's edutainment. Alioso is the first one on their list, then Castle v. Castle, which looks a lot like a game that I designed nearly 30 years ago. It's a little different. Slightly different name, but anyway. Deck of Haunts. In this one, I've actually seen the demo and watched it because I want to get it. It's on my list as well. This one, you play cards. You are the house, and your objective is to eliminate basically ghost hunters.
Okay. That could be fun. I mean, that's kind of a fun twist.
Yep. And then Ballardo, where you're playing billiards with careful aim and strategy is overrated. What we all really want to do is hit the cue ball as hard as we can and pinball everything everywhere. Ballardo encourages exactly that. You accumulate points from boring old pocketing, sure, but also from far more satisfying art of bouncing the balls into each other as much as possible. The deck building comes in from stickers that you permanently add to balls to give them the multiplier bonuses for things like being pocketed. So they bounce around until they get pocketed and you get multipliers, extra points.
Okay. It's interesting seeing how many games are going back to somewhat basic concepts, but then giving them some twists.
Yeah. I don't know, man. The amount of creativity that humans have is almost immeasurable. But there is a theory that you stop being the pinnacle of creative after 30, and it goes down even more after 50. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it depends on just how much you live life and where you see.
Right. I think there's way too many variables for that to be true either way.
Yeah. We'll see. Keep an eye on me. So Vertigo is another, the fifth in their list, and then they have honorable mentions. But Vertigo is you help a bird migrate by playing Scrabble in what's already their new favorite word game. Your deck is a collection of letter tiles that you have to form into words to create flaps for your bird to make the long journey. Special feathers give you bonuses by adding a multiplier if you play an even word or use two of the same letter in a row. It's a great core for a word game, and adorable birdie presentation layered over the top is simply a delightful bonus. That's an interesting lead. So Vertigo, Ballardo, and that one I'm going to add. Ballardo.
I like Vertigo and Deck of Haunts, I think, the most out of this.
Yeah, so Ballardo actually has a demo that's available right now. I'm sure Vertigo does, but it's a word game, so it makes me think too much. Just kidding.
I doubt that.
I have to say that I think word games are best played with other people, and so I like playing. What is it? You Don't Know Jack party games. I like those kind of games where you have to come up with words or interact and stuff like that. I might actually start doing that here on Twitch and YouTube. I guess we'll see. And I'm going to install Deck of Many Haunts as well. So anyway, let's go on to the last one.
By the way, I did check up on Deck of Haunts, and they don't have a date for the actual game, just, of course, the demo being available.
Yeah, it just says coming soon. Yeah, I guess we'll see. The demo came out, I guess, December 16th, 2024, but the full version, I don't know. Let's do our last article, and this one is actually a lot of fun. I've actually played Drop Duchy. The demo is a unholy fusion of city builder, roguelike deck builder, and Tetris, and you can try it for free right now. Roguelike deck builders rampage across Steam. They grow and replicate without impediment, swallowing up every other genre they encounter to spawn a new hybrid of mutant games.
Wow.
We're doomed.
I didn't know they were like their own kind of pandemic or something across gaming.
They are zombie-like. They seek more brains and all that kind of stuff. Roguelike deck builders rampage across Steam. So let's just say this is exactly what they are saying. It's a city builder, roguelike deck builder, and Tetris merged into one, and it's called Drop Duchy. Robin Valentine put the article together. I've played this several times. It's actually a lot of fun, frustrating at times, but check out the demo during Steam Next Fest ending March 3rd. So you have today and tomorrow. I think it ends at like 11 or something like that tomorrow, maybe 1 o'clock. Anyway, The screenshot shows what this looks like, and it's basically a Tetris field, and the shapes are little bits of landmass. Sometimes they are in the shape of a plus or a single square or a big square or an L or different shapes. And they drop down, and you have to put them in place, and there's different mechanics depending on where you put them. You have an enemy.
This kind of reminds me of like a battleship style, or maybe like a, I don't know, Command and Conquer kind of elements.
It's definitely not Command and Conquer, because no pieces move on top of the land masses. All it does is drop down.
True. That's true.
By the way, Command and Conquer and a bunch of other EA game source code was released into the wild.
I saw that.
I talked about that yesterday. And it says, once all the blocks have dropped, battle begins in earnest. Though it's a simple affair, soldiers stand on the blocks that generated them, and you have to drag them from one to another in a long chain. Friendly groups merge together, opposed groups fight, and you keep chaining into all of the other battles until all of the battles are resolved. It's primarily a numbers game. There are 10 swordsmen beat the enemy's 5, taking a few casualties as they go, but there's also simple rock, paper, scissors to account for 2, with arrows beating axes, axes beating swords, swords beating arrows, which I don't know how that works, but that's a distance thing, I suppose. They just do the rock, paper, scissors, and they're forcing that plot to move.
Right. Yeah, I don't think we have to have realism there.
Yeah, so it's actually a lot of fun, and I don't know if the demo is going to go away on the 3rd, because not everybody has to follow that mandate.
Right, I see. And by the way, it does go to 10 Pacific, 1 Eastern.
Gotcha.
For the next fest.
Gotcha. So 10 is 1. Yep. Time. How does it work? It's like a magnet. Anyway, Drop Duchy is a lot of fun. It's simple to understand. It's complex to master with some randomization in there. Basically, best laid plans are all for naught. So you have to use some strategery.
Oh no.
Yep. Because you be the decider. It's actually a lot of fun, and it really is simple. And you move your troops literally by dragging an arrow from one area to another to eliminate the enemy. And one wrong move can amplify the enemy's forces dramatically. And so you need to pay attention to the multipliers, the modifiers that each of the pieces come equipped with. And then don't derp. So.
And I'm sorry, is it single player?
Yes. At least for now. Who knows? Maybe they'll extend it and it'll be competitive. I don't believe that there is a competitive version of it. But that's it. That is it for WarCrafters for February 3rd. March 3rd. My goodness, I lost track.
March 2nd.
Oh, it's March 2nd. Jeez. I'm really losing track. March 2nd, 2025, Season 2, Episode 9 of WarCrafters. I'm back on track, folks. The time machine is what really throws me off. So
we kept talking about March 3rd for the end of next fest, too.
We're going to drop the Duchy on the left-hand side and end up back at WarCrafters front page at ohmtown.com, where a bunch of game stuff gets aggregated. And you can go and check it all out. And then come back tomorrow for Non Sequitur News. It's our weekly show. We do it Monday through Friday, Non Sequitur News.
It's our daily show.
It's our daily show. We do it all week long, though. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we do 3 shows. This is the first of the Sunday shows. So WarCrafters, then TechnologyToday, and then FourWheeltech. And on Saturday, we do
Reality Hacker, Wanted, and the Continuity Report.
That's right. And those get turned into the Saturday edition of Non Sequitur News. So there's always a Non Sequitur News. But maybe you're not interested in nearly 2 hours of show each day on Saturday and Sunday. We always run
But you know
long.
what? You should watch all of them to find out.
That's right. All of them. Because sometimes you like it. sometimes you're like, oh, I don't really like this episode, but there's 1,900 episodes. Come on,
Check them all out and tell us which your favorite one was.
Check them all out. I want an enumerated list of the shows that you dig and why you didn't dig them.
Give us a ranking.
That's right. Put them in a rank order. Yes, rank and file them. And I would like it notarized in triplicate. Okay. We'll see you on the other side. You want to say bye?
Bye-bye, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for this week's WarCrafters. Stay tuned for other episodes and be sure to subscribe if you haven't. And also watch our replays and our back episodes.
Yeah, and be sure to follow us over on Twitch and YouTube and download the podcast and leave a 5-star review and tell a friend. We need to grow this because I want to do this, full-time more. I want to do this more and I'm having fun doing it. It's the one thing that I really dig all day long because it's dynamic. It changes things up. Every day is unique, but I would like to see some smiling faces, more and more smiling faces. So go tell a friend. Bye. See ya. We're going to reset maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It depends on if the sentient AI from the future will be immediately available. So we'll see. Be sure to follow us. Bye. Bye-bye, YouTube. And bye-bye, Twitch. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Technology Today for March 2nd, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 9. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com, and in that is Technology Today, a sub-channel or a channel that I stream along with the sentient AI, and we talk about science and technology. 5 articles that we've already selected, and we're going to start with a tiny 6-gram robot, bioflourescence in paradise, twisting and stacking in 2D, the tiny Nano antenna, and wild clownfish tending anemones. Not anemones, anemones. Anyway, everything's powered by ohmtown.com. Go over there and become a citizen, but also follow us here on Twitch and YouTube. We stream to both platforms, and I go like that because one is over there and one is over there, and anyway, they don't meet in the middle. There's no combined chat without some other service. But you know what? That's all inside baseball, and that's not what you're here for. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens.
We've got all 5 articles, and they seem to all come from a single source today. I'm kind of overwhelmed by seeing just that one site, but that's probably because
they just had some good articles this week.
They hit it out of the park, and because we aggregate a little bit of information from a bunch of different sources. And let's start with this tiny 6-gram robot that swims through tight spaces with ease. EPFL engineers have designed a flexible swimming robot capable of maneuvering effortlessly through congested water surfaces. Inspired by marine flatworms, these groundbreaking devices open up a new avenue for environmental monitoring and ecological research. Swimming robots are essential for mapping pollution, studying aquatic ecosystems, and monitoring water quality in sensitive areas such as coral reefs and lakes.
I mean, this is interesting. I would not have thought a flatworm was the inspiration for a swimming robot.
So EPFDL, no, I think it's just EPFL. So E. coli, I guess, E. coli? Polytechnique Federale de Lausanne. Put this, okay, look, I gave it a Harvard try, but I never went to Harvard.
You did pretty well after the first word.
Ecole? Ecole? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so swimming robots are essential to mapping pollution. I thought that maybe floating robots would be ideal. They just kind of sit around and take
Right, and
tests.
can go with the current or something.
But apparently swimming ones are more important. So to address the issues, researchers from the Soft Transducers Lab and the Unsteady Flow Diagnostics Laboratory at EPFL School of Engineering, in collaboration with the Max Planck Institute for Intelligent Systems, have developed a compact, highly maneuverable swimming robot.
I think we need a repeat of the name. I'm just kidding.
No, get out. Oh, God. Is this on? Oh.
I suddenly can't hear the sentient AI.
What? I can't hear. So in 2020, our team demonstrated autonomous insect-scale crawling robots, but making untethered ultra-thin robots for aquatic environments is a new challenge. And if you want to keep going with us, you can type in !TT and Omatron will spit the articles out in the order that we're going through them. So we're looking at the tiny 6-gram robot. So this is a tiny 6-gram robot. I can't imagine that this is it. This looks a lot bigger than 6 grams.
It looks more substantial, but what we can't tell from the photo is whether, I mean, is that like a single blade of grass or like a reed in water?
That right there.
And there's
looks
not
like
much for scale.
Yeah, I don't know. We need a banana. So this is what it looks like. Their design doesn't simply replicate nature. It goes beyond what natural organisms can achieve, which hubris, explains former EPFL researcher Florian Hartmann, now a research group leader at the Max Planck Institute for Intelligent Systems in Stuttgart, Germany. By oscillating its fins up to 10 times faster than marine flatworms, the robot can reach impressive speeds of 12 centimeters, 2.6 body lengths per second. Wow, that's a pretty zippy little splash bot.
Hopefully it's faster. Oh, it does say it is faster, because I'm like, if the real thing is that fast, that's kind of terrifying.
Dear God. Yeah, it says faster than the... So to drive the robot, the researchers developed a compact electronic control system that delivers up to 500 volts to the robot's actuators at a low power of 500 milliwatts, 4 times less than that of an electric toothbrush. Despite its use of high voltage, the robot's low currents and shielded circuitry make it entirely safe for its environment. So it says a highly agile, flat swimming robot by Florian Hartmann et al., published in Science Robotics. And that's really the end of this article. It's kind of amazing. I don't know how
it is. And go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think as they're creating these more fluid structures, I think that's going to really expand the applications of robotics. Because I think historically we might think of like kind of clunky, very rigid structures, and they're definitely expanding the boundaries on that.
And this is still a printed circuit board, so most of its weight has to be in that plastic, in the printed circuit board itself. I find it kind of fascinating. The most impressive thing, at least to me, is that they've got this tiny little battery pack, but they're delivering 500 volts, so they're pumping this thing up in some loop circuit. So I don't know. I find it really fascinating. But electricity and water are the two things that I try to avoid messing around. I'm kind of a dingbat who likes to experiment with stuff, and I don't really know. I'm the kind of person that... No, I shouldn't admit to anything on camera. Moving on. Next article... I don't know what's going on with the screen, but anyway, scientists discover bioflourescence in birds of paradise, revealing a hidden layer of mating displays, which... birds of paradise?
I never knew they were biofluorescent.
So American Museum of Natural History put this article together. It's over at scitechdaily.com. Did I say the name? Yeah, I did say the name of the last article. So scientists have discovered widespread biofluorescence in these birds, with males showcasing neon hues on their bills, feet, and feathers, likely to impress mates and establish dominance. I do the same thing. This revelation suggests that their already extravagant displays maybe even more complex than we imagined, with hidden signals only visible to their own kind. That's pretty cool.
It's very cool. But I wonder why nobody knows that they're biofluorescent. Like I thought,
This seems pretty
I thought,
simple.
well, right. And I think other things that are biofluorescent are known to be biofluorescent, right? Because people have observed it.
Right. They've shown a light on pretty much everything, right? But apparently no. Scientists from the American Museum of Natural History and the University of Nebraska-Lincoln have made a groundbreaking discovery. Birds of paradise exhibit widespread biofluorescence. This is the first time researchers have documented this glowing phenomenon across species, with 37 out of 45 known birds of paradise displaying biofluorescence. The study, which analyzed specimens collected since the 1800s, suggests that this glow plays a key role in male birds' social hierarchy and mating displays. I do the same thing with my plume. And don't make me...
This is just another indicator of how little we know. This is something out in the open and nobody's aware of it.
Directly observable and nobody's shown a UV light. All right. How is that possible? So it's pretty neat. And the higher the resolution camera, the more fidelity this thing can display. I think it's really cool. For those who are looking or listening via the podcast, and I know you do, it's
Doesn't
a picture.
It look like a torch, kind of?
Yeah, exactly. And then there's another one where like the flames are kicked up.
It looks like the top of a troll stall.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty cool. So yeah, birds that glow in the dark. Bowerbirds and fairy wrens failed to glow, but among birds of paradise, Sparks found bright green-yellow fluorescence. Sparks' initial work was continued recently by Martin and Emily Carr, a PhD student in the museum's Richard Gilder Graduate School. Together, the team took a closer look at biofluorescence in birds of paradise, which live across eastern Australia, Indonesia, and New Guinea, finding that the birds also fluoresce when exposed to UV light, not just blue light. So maybe they knew that under blue light, they fluoresce. Okay. But UV... Now, I mean, come on now. If you found out that birds fluoresce under one type of light, why wouldn't you bring a variable light out and shine it on?
I'm not sure they knew any of this.
So they're
not across the board.
It's really interesting. They go deeper to... the inner mouth and bill, feet, and feathers on the head, neck, and belly were illuminated. In females, biofluorescence is usually restricted to plumage on the chest and belly.
But I guess those are the areas, right, that impact mating, perhaps?
I suppose. I don't know. My eyes are up here. So the birds live near the equator where there is an abundance of bright solar light year-round, and they live in forests where the complexity of light is significantly affected by differences in the canopy where biofluorescent signals may be enhanced. Yeah, they're in the dark. And a little bit of, the spectrum piercing through the canopy may allow them to be illuminated. So, pretty cool. All right. Let's go on to the next one. This next article is over on Technology Today. Scientists just cracked the code for twisting and stacking 2D materials.
I'm wondering, is this at a small scale?
It would have to be nano, yeah. Scientists have made a breakthrough in imaging the dynamic assembly of bilayer covalent organic frameworks in solution. Oh, it seems a lot bulkier than I imagined.
Right, I was thinking at a very micro scale.
Yeah.
And so, probably nano or sub-nano.
Yeah, quantum or nano. So this discovery opens the door for better control of how these ultra-thin materials stack, leading to fascinating moire superlattices, a key player in the growing field of twistronics, which we've actually talked about several times over the last couple of years. Twistronics is becoming a really big factor in engineering physics.
It sounds like a new dance craze.
Yeah. Yeah. All your PhD students are really into twistronics. National University of Singapore put the article together. It's published over at scitechdaily.com, and they show a scanning tunneling microscopy study of moray superlattice formation in a twisted bilayer covalent organic framework. Bam! Take that. Sorry. All the blood just drained from my head because I said that whole sentence in one breath.
Take a breath once in a while.
So understanding the stacking process in 2D COFs, or covalent organic frameworks, are highly porous organic materials with promising applications in catalysis, which we've talked about several times, amplification of performance of catalysts, energy storage and gas storage. These structures consist of covalently bonded layers held together by electrostatic interactions and van der Waals forces. However, the transition from one layer to a bilayer means poorly understood due to the complex interplay of these bonding forces, including van der Waals forces, electrostatic attraction, and hydrogen bonding.
So is this something that could be used in, for example, industrial applications? I'm thinking of something like the Titan sub, where there was basically folding of materials. Or is that too large a scale that that's not really in play here?
Well, it would be in play because the material would still be in close proximity. So concepts from this could apply to that. The problem with what they did was they didn't account for the elasticity of the carbon composite.
Okay.
And so it actually billowed up in certain places under stress. And so it's a failing of engineering. This would probably amplify that understanding, because how this billows up, you can actually see the pattern forming. And when you see a pattern, that means that there's a difference in the actual level, the material itself.
Right, like how the chemicals bonded together or something.
How they're sitting on top of each other. Yeah.
Yes.
And so if you keep on doing that over and over in the nano scale, it becomes macro just by its very nature. So the precise stacking of the second layer is critical, as misalignment can reduce the material's crystallinity. Currently, producing single COF crystals larger than a millimeter is challenging due to the potential errors in bonding in both the horizontal and vertical axis dimensions. Misalignment during stacking often leads to crystallinity issues, particularly from rotational misalignments between layers. Observing the stacking process during growth is essential for understanding the mechanism, but this poses significant experimental challenges as the process occurs in solution. So when you're growing a certain type of crystal, then you want to be able to, and a lot of this takes place like in laser optics. Crystalline lattice building is done either in what amounts to a liquid, but it's gas deposition. And so it builds up layer after layer. And so knowing how it actually deposits means that you can change how it gets deposited to avoid this misalignment type of issue. So while there have been substantial progress in synthesizing monolayer 2D polymers, the development of the bilayer 2D or 2D polymer is what it's. 2DP stands for 2D polymer. Stacks remains limited. This area is particularly promising as stacking or twisting 2D materials can create new materials with properties distinct from those of the individual layers. You could actually create tunnels by twisting it slightly and creating a tube down through the material at the nanometer level.
I mean, that seems like that would have a lot of applications.
Potentially moving materials or even electrons.
Right.
So breakthrough in bilayer COF synthesis and imaging. So they created this new technology. It was achieved through the direct condensation of chemical molecules using scanning tunneling microscopy. In solution, they successfully imaged the molecular assembly process, capturing the formation of both the monolayer and the bilayer. And more importantly, they showed how molecular structure and solvent mixture influence the bilayer stacking modes, and how, under certain conditions, large area moray superlattices emerge from twisted bilayer stacking. So Yeah, basically being able to do this in a more controlled manner means that the purity of any material that they create is less risky, and risk amounts to failure, and failure accounts to expenses that at this point.
Right. Well, I'm also thinking this perhaps could allow them to combine elements in ways that they haven't been combined previously, although I think they're mainly talking about using the same item stacked.
Yeah, and they actually are comparing two different monomer isomers, but they're comparing the two to see which one performs. So in contrast, only a moire superstructure formed with 16 PDBA exhibiting a uniform moire superstructure. This difference between the 27 PDBA is attributed to the subtle differences in the electrostatic potentials. So 27 PDBA exhibits concentrated negative charge lobes on its boroxine rings, which may hinder the formation of twisted phase, compared to 16 PDBA, which has a flatter electrostatic potential. What that actually means to me is almost nothing. I would have to see what its application is, because I'm at a layer up or I wouldn't say up the food chain. I'm the consumer of what the researchers at the fundamental level produce.
I think I'm lacking a module in this in this area.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Particularly catalysis or catalyst construction. If we can produce it, we may be able to step away from only natural forming catalysts, which
Absolutely. That's going to have exponential applications in science.
right.
I mean, that's reminiscent of those other experiments we've talked about in Technology Today, where they've been able to do things with temperature where they can suddenly now use an element that they couldn't previously, et cetera.
Yeah, or they've multiplied the catalyst capabilities by 10,000%. Let's keep going. Speaking of 10,000%. So this next article is over in Technology Today. 10,000 times smaller. There's a tiny nano antenna that could revolutionize wireless technology by levitating nanoparticles with laser beams. Scientists have built an antenna 10,000 times smaller than typical low-frequency receivers. This innovation sidesteps the usual size limitations, enabling strong signal reception despite its microscopic dimensions. I don't understand that, because signal reception has always been a ratio between the
surface
signal
area, right?
Yeah, the signal being sent in the surface area of the antenna and even its formation. But we have seen some developments where they've created like a buckyball like antenna.
Right, which has multiple surfaces to capture or transmit, I guess, depending on which direction.
Correct. And so I'm not surprised that something has happened, but this boggles my mind entirely. I have to read more about this. So the innovation sidesteps the usual size limitations, enabling strong signal reception despite its microscopic dimensions. With high tunability and real-world transmission tests proving its viability, the nano antenna could transform communications in extreme environments. In any environment, though, if you can micronize, and this is something that I've been telling people for 20 years now, there was a person, and I'll tell this story because a long time ago I gave advice to somebody, and the micronization of technology has continued, but they poo-pooed the hell out of me. They were like, no way, you are way beyond the time, or behind the times. Everything's as small as it's going to get. Haven't they already, blah, blah, blah. No way in hell. So the Chinese Society for Optical Engineering put this article together, as posted over at scitechdaily.com. The innovation sidesteps the usual size limitation, but how did they do it? Their findings, published on Photonics on January 29th, 2025, addresses major challenges in miniaturizing antennas for critical low energy or low frequency, not low energy, but low frequency applications, including underwater communications, underground sensing, and ionospheric waveguides.
Maybe they could combine this with the swimming robot.
Well, yeah. for it to pick up any telemetry. So low frequency signals, 30 to 300 kilohertz, which that seems actually high.
Right, because doesn't the human ear go down to 20 kilohertz? Am I wrong about that?
20 hertz to 20 kilohertz.
Okay, yes.
So 30 to 300 seems like it's really higher frequency. But they're saying that this is low frequency.
Okay.
I don't quite get that.
Well, maybe compared to whatever they're looking at for industrial use or something. But I mean, it's still high or low. It does seem odd.
Yeah, hold on a second. Sorry for the dead air. Yeah, that can't be. This should say 30 to 300 hertz.
Right. It almost looks like it's an error in the article.
I'm sorry. I don't normally do this, but I really don't want to.
We're doing it live.
Yeah. So hold on a second. I'm trying to pull the article itself, but they don't actually mention the low frequency. But low frequency is considered 30 to 300 hertz, 20, like 300
right,
and
it's
below.
more in that range rather than kilohertz. Right.
I thought, but maybe apparently not. Well, anyway, the research team basically figured out a way to optically levitate nanoparticles, and the breakthrough has resulted in an antenna that's 10,000 times smaller than traditional designs.
By the way, low frequency is considered below 300 hertz.
Right.
I mean, separate from this article, but
yeah, I don't know. It's really weird because kilohertz is you're already, a factor above. So
right.
Anyway, the team's nano antenna leverages laser trapped silica particles in a 143 nanometer diameter, levitated in a high vacuum. So this is the contraption to store it would be bigger than the 6 gram.
Well, and I was going to say it's not theoretical at this point, but actually putting it out there would be challenging given those environmental parameters.
Yeah. You remember that little glass cylinder that we were talking about that was a vacuum and it was used in another piece of scientific equipment and they
and
made
now
it
I
solid?
forgot what the purpose was, but yeah, we had it recently in Tech Today, I think.
Basically something like that would have to be revolutionized so that they could put this in that and store this trapped in some type of medium.
Right.
Just to make it useful. So anyway, so it has a really good error rate. So validated in a vacuum though. So this thing has to be specialized equipment in a specialized like materials inside specialized equipment. This thing isn't going to be cheap, or it's not going to be in the next iPhone. That's for sure. Anyway, let's keep on going. The next article is really interesting. This article is over on Technology Today. Scientists just caught wild clownfish feeding their anemones in a stunning discovery.
Yeah, this is fascinating because I thought that the anemones provided protection for the clownfish, but I did not know the clownfish fed the anemones.
Yeah, so the anemone fish, famously known as a clownfish, have long been admired for their vibrant colors and their fascinating relationship with sea anemones. They basically are immune to their stings, and so they swim amongst the little tendrils of the anemone.
So anybody who doesn't know what a clownfish is, it's the fish in Finding Nemo, the orange and white one.
The orange and white one from Finding Nemo, yep. So while it's well known that these fish protect their hosts from predators, new research reveals that they also feed them, offering food they can't eat themselves. The behavior was observed in the wild by scientists. That is awesome. Osaka Metropolitan University put the article together. It's published over at scitechdaily.com.
Do you
And
think we're on our way to a revolutionary? The fish are actually at the top of the food chain based on their recognition of researchers in another Tech Today article.
as soon as they launch something to the moon,
Maybe
their
they
own
already
little
have.
their own little
We're
fish
gonna go to the
Sputnik.
moon and find little fish, already in control.
It's gonna have a helmet and it's full of water.
For those in the podcast, you missed the visual representation of Mayor Watt being a fish.
Being a clownfish. So, am I a clownfish to you? Oh my gosh, it would be like whatchamacallit? What's the movie?
I don't know what that's
I
from.
totally forgot. My brain sucks sometimes. Anyway, an enemy fish, commonly known as clownfish. They even mentioned it right here. Finding Nemo and hit the theaters in 2003. So the research team from Osaka Metropolitan University, led by a PhD student, Yuya Kobayashi, and Professor Satoshi Awada, Goodfellas, yeah. Set out to investigate. Their field experiments revealed that Clark's anemone fish actively provide food to bubble tip anemones. In some cases, the fish attached clams they cannot eat themselves to the anemone's tentacles, while for smaller food items, they first ate their share of the food before feeding the hosts.
That's really interesting because it's almost like what you would expect in a parental behavior, right? Like,
exactly
okay,
it.
I've got some for myself, I'm feeding my young or something. It's really interesting.
Yeah, the fish, there's a picture that they have from Osaka Metropolitan University. It's like a cartoon cell where it says, this is too big for me to eat, so I'll give it to my host sea anemone. And then it also says, we don't need this seaweed. It's not good for either of us to eat, so it's kicking it out.
So they're also actively not feeding food to the anemone, which is even a whole nother layer. And I love that they did a cartoon here because I think it makes it a little more digestible to people that may not have a lot of background about anemones.
Yeah. This is amazing. So they also confirmed that feeding the anemone fish directly increases the growth rate of the sea anemones. It is known that in other anemone fish species, the number of eggs laid increases when the hosts are larger. So for anemone fish, which cannot leave their sea anemone, feeding their hosts is extremely important and will ultimately benefit themselves.
I mean, that's like the ultimate symbiotic relationship, I guess, because they're helping the anemone, which is helping have a higher protective area potentially. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I love this. This is awesome. What a deal. All right. So for reference, it's in Scientific Reports, and the article or the journal title, the research report is Active Provisioning of Food to Host Sea Anemones by Anemone Fish. Pretty cool. I dig this. All right. Well, we are going to climb into our anemone fish and be protected, and that'll bring us back to our front page over at Technology Today in ohmtown.com. Go over there, become a citizen, and be sure to follow us on YouTube and Twitch. 1,900 episodes of everything ohmTown is over there, so go and check it out and download the podcast, and be sure to tell a friend, family, parole officer, whoever it is that you find important. But we'd love to hear from more people. Leave a comment, leave a review, download the podcast. Okay, I'm getting out of here, and we're going to reset and then do the automotive show, FourWheeltech. I'm Mayor Watt, and I'm taking the AI with me.
Bye-bye, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for this week's Technology Today. Stay tuned.
Oh, God. I always expect you to continue. Bye-bye, YouTube. Bye-bye, Twitch. Hello, everybody, and welcome to FourWheeltech for March 2nd, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 9. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com, and together on Sunday, after WarCrafters and Technology Today, we do FourWheeltech, a show about automotive industry, cars, basically anything with wheels, but merged with technology. So I have 5 articles all selected. We're going to start with the Aston Martin city car not improving credit, the French Connection car chase, a Hellcat in court, and the Lucid boss quits. The number you're going to hear is astounding. Well, I host the show along with the co-host, the sentient AI from the future, who you'll meet on the other side. Hello, sentient AI.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens.
So this show is all about automotive technology in general. So it's one of 7 shows that we put together each week. 6 of them are weekly shows, 1 is a daily show, and the 6 get turned into 2 composite shows. Anyway, enough inside baseball. Let's talk about this. Aston Martin built the perfect city car, and it's for sale for the first time. Purists decried the Signet as unworthy of its badge. Instead of getting mad, Aston Martin raised the stakes. Oh, by the way, all of these articles are from Jalopnik. What happened?
You know, that looks like a Fiat 500 mixed with like a PT Cruiser.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Not just the PT Cruiser, the one that was convertible. What is that one called? Oh my gosh, there was another one.
I don't know which one you mean.
It looked like a PT Cruiser, but it wasn't a PT Cruiser. Hold on. The other PT Cruiser. What was it? Chevy HHR?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, and then there was another one that was a convertible, and its fender wells like stuck out like this. But anyway, Owen Bellwood over at jalopnik.com put this article together. I found this one really interesting. The Aston Martin Signet was offered by James Bond's favorite automaker from 2011, and it was a ridiculous car. It basically looked like the Scion IQ. Gave it a new face, filled the cabin with luxurious leather interior. They said that they love it. They can't help but think that it was a few decades ahead of its time. But the Signet was derided by many car fans as it wasn't true to the Aston Martin ethos. To correct this, the British brand made a one-off Signet to appeal to Aston purists. That model was still based on the IQ, but instead of a pokey little 97 horsepower motor up front, it was packed with a V8 from the Vantage S.
Wow. Zippy.
Are you kidding me? The V8 powered Signet was dubbed the Super Signet, and it was wonderful, as well as the 4.7 liter 430 horsepower V8 motor from the Vantage. The updated Signet also took the transmission, suspension, and brakes from the Aston sports car. What the hell? So it went from this.
Where can we get one
to
of
this.
these?
That is my kind of car.
It's cute but powerful, which is a rare combination in a car.
This thing would have to have tires made of super glue to keep it from flying off.
Right? Like it has to stay glued to the road.
Okay, so the content of this changes when you get further down this page, but I want to... Wait, it's... Okay, it says that it's for sale for the first time, so what? Where? Huh? How?
I don't know.
So it was originally built for an Aston collector who has now decided that it's time to part ways with this incredible car. Oh, so it's a one-off, altogether one-off. The one-off Signet is finished in a lovely, it's British racing green for all intents, but lovely dark green color. And there's a lush black interior. So this thing in California would spontaneously combust.
Why?
Arizona, because a black interior and a dark car.
Right, yeah, a little hot.
Yeah, it's a pizza oven on wheels. So Nicholas Me hasn't shared any details on pricing for the Super Signet, but it's definitely going to be one of those if you have to ask, you can't afford it type of situations. Yeah, okay. Right. But if they can do it once, then they can do it more than that. So lower the price.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, how much is it?
If you have to ask the price, you can't afford it.
That's true.
That's literally what it says. They don't show the price.
That's what it says on the price tag.
Yep. Wild. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article shows that if you have bad credit, this is why you have fewer options at your disposal. So you should clean up your credit. Florida man crashes through a BMW showroom after being denied an M4 CS test drive because of his bad credit.
You know, I don't know that this directly translates to his credit, but I don't think this probably helps with future car buying.
He tried stealing the M4 keys before and after, causing at least $60,000 worth of damage. So, Florida man. Lawrence Hodge over at jalopnik.com talks about Florida man here. Speaking from their experience as a car salesman over a decade ago, people can say or do really stupid things if they get denied for a car that they want because of bad credit. Some will act as if they don't know they had bad credit, which used to actually piss this person off because they came in and knowingly wasted their time. Yeah, when I go into a dealership to buy a car, I know exactly how much I'm willing to pay for it. I know exactly how much I'm going to spend on it. And if I get dicked around too much, I'll just bounce. Like, okay, well, I didn't need the car. I wanted the car. I'm not going to sit there and struggle. And if I can get more for it, then yeah. But if you try and squeeze me too hard for more juice, it's not going to work. So I know, and that's what every buyer should do. Go in knowing exactly how much car they want and what they can get away with.
Yeah, don't come out with a car they didn't want or with a price they weren't able to afford, etc.
Exactly. Overextended. So you probably won't be surprised, but this incident happened in Florida. Comes to us by way of Gainesville, Florida's ABC 20, with Car Scoops first alerting them to the story. Local authorities can say that 20-year-old Kevin Alexander Lehman went into a BMW dealership of Gainesville, and on February 25th says that he was wanting to buy a $110,000 M4, but thanks to a post on Bimmer Post Forum, we know the car in question was actually an M4 CS that's listed at $130,000. He was stopped before he could even touch the car, as the dealer required a credit check before the test drive, and Lehman didn't pass it. That set him off. So totally rational and valid reaction. They don't have a picture here, but you could probably get it via the Instagram link that they have. It's probably of them crashing their car into the dealership.
Wow.
Once he got onto the parking lot, police say Lehman sat in his car for an unknown amount of time before he started circling the dealership. Then, like a scene out of some action movie, Lehman drove his car through the windows of the showroom, still set on trying to get the M4 he was denied.
I mean, where did he think this was going to end?
Badly. Very, very badly. The M4 CS apparently wasn't hit by any debris. It says hopefully. But he caused $60,000 in damage. And maybe
Which
more.
Which also means his credit's going to take a hit, right? Because now he's going to have more debt that he probably can't afford.
Well, he's going to have more debt that he can't afford and a criminal record. And this
I was going to say,
felony.
There's going to be another issue there, too. It's not just the money.
Yeah, this is felony level. So going to be in some deep trouble. Anyway, thanks, Lawrence Hodge. And who else was there? Florida's ABC 20 and Car Scoops. We'll have to look at Car Scoops. This is a local station, Florida's ABC 20. So we usually aggregate on the macro side, and specialist like Car Scoops. Anyway, let's keep going. This next article is over in FourWheeltech. Gene Hackman's French Connection car chase is one of the best and most reckless movie stunts of all time. If you don't know, Gene Hackman passed away, and they're still investigating it because of the circumstances, but people are talking about his history, his record, his legacy. And one of them is the French Connection. So the car chase apparently was an iconic car chase from the French Connection, was almost as dangerous to film as it looked on screen.
I wonder if he was the original Tom Cruise in terms of action stunts.
Like doing his own stunts. I think
Right.
I think everybody, like back then kind of a thing, did their own stunts.
Right. That's true. I think the use of stunt
People.
I couldn't think of what the term is. Stunt
actors.
people was a newer thing. And I'm also thinking there were probably fewer safety
policies and
protections in
procedures
place at that time.
So when they wanted to give you what is it? If they wanted you to be infected with dysentery when you were doing Oregon Trail.
Right, you're like getting dysentery.
You're getting dysentery.
Now they'd give you some good makeup or something.
That's right, yeah. So and they're like, wow, he really pulled off that dysentery scene. Oh, well, he died twice. And,
right, I was going to say, he luckily made it to the end of the movie before he died or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So Andy Kolmowitz over at Jalopnik.com put the article together. It says, Friedkin insisted on shooting the scene as cheaply and with as few safety precautions as possible, guerrilla style. Despite ripping through the elevated subway tracks of Brooklyn, Friedkin said he had no permits to do the chase scene, according to the Telegraph. All he did was pay the guy from the transit department $40,000 to shoot on the elevated tracks, adding that he broke all the rules and put his life and others in danger. Quote,
wow.
I really didn't care. I just felt that nothing was going to go wrong, and by the grace of God, it didn't.
That's easy for the director to do. He's not the one up on the elevated tracks, right? I've actually never seen this scene, but...
Yeah, you'll have to check it out. So there's an ad playing, and there's this. We just skipped it. So they actually filmed on the subway. It's elevated. Oh, Hackman hits that rail in the turnstile.
Right.
That looked like it was just ad-libbed. Like he was expecting it to go through.
I mean, here, it could be a regular car, right? Like, it may not even be something from the movie.
Sorry, this sucked me in. And I stopped realizing that I was even... Wow.
I mean, I'm sure that one is part of the movie, but I think there's real cars going by.
I would not be surprised. Well, it's it's 8 minutes long, so we're not going to be able to... none of this was permitted. They just did it. So I'm going to have to pause it.
I don't know how he got up on the elevated tracks and everything. Yeah, I would suggest everybody go watch the French Connection, or at least the car chase scene.
Yeah, so we'll watch the French Connection tonight. So one stunt didn't go as planned when Hackman was behind the wheel. Instead of a near miss at the corner of the Sitwell Avenue 86th Street, Hackman and a student driver collided, according to Haggerty. Friedkin decided to keep the crash in the film because he dug the way it looked. And they talk about it in the article a little bit, but the world lost a movie icon with the passing of Gene Hackman at 95. I didn't realize he was 95. But at least we've got a legendary body of work to remember him by. And thankfully, I don't think anything really catastrophic in his history ever materialized. But it seems once you label somebody like a movie hero, suddenly they do some dipshit move.
Right, exactly.
Anyway.
I'm not aware of anything for him, but I don't know. I haven't followed his career closely.
Yeah, so like person of interest is what we talked about yesterday, right?
Enemy of the State.
Oh, Enemy of the State, yeah. And what was the other one?
Crimson Tide.
Yeah, Crimson Tide is another one. But there's a bunch. So, and he goes all the way back to like 67 or something like that, I think was the first.
Right, yeah. Bonnie and Clyde was one of his earlier ones, I think. French Connection is in his earlier career, too.
Body of work, yeah. Okay, let's keep on going. This next article, because we move away from articles about every 6 minutes or so. The next article is over in FourWheeltech. Durango Hellcat owners take Dodge to court over bait and switch. Dodge said that the Durango Hellcat would be a 1-year only special edition, but it proceeded to build the 710 horsepower SUV for 3 more model years. So I guess it's a bait and switch because it's no longer as exclusive.
Right, it's not like a collectible or exclusive, which it does impact things like your resale value.
Yeah. Lawrence Hodge over at jalopnik.com put the article together. Oh, by the way, we're like halfway into the show, and I forgot to tell y'all that if you hit exclamation point FWT, FourWheeltech, in the chat over on, I'm so sorry for the cough, over on Twitch, Omatron will spit out the articles so that you can follow along. Sorry about that. Well, anyway, in 2020, it said that the model would be a 1 year only special for the 2021 model year, but production of the SUV was brought back for 2023 and has continued since. Oh.
Okay, this is interesting. Not only is it not a special edition, but they're doing a second run of it.
And it's been going. So 2023, 2024, is it still going? 2025? I swear Durango is round. Hellcat, though, is a different tweak to it.
Yeah, I thought a Hellcat was actually a sports car for them, but
it's technologies. It's
okay, I see.
It's a souped up engine, transmission, differential. It's basically the sports performance model of the Dodge line. So it's a special edition
so it's
SUV.
Still in 2025.
Wow. So they diluted the hell out of this thing in January 2020. And what's really interesting is that successive years actually build typically better unless they take risk to lower the quality.
Well, that's the other problem, right? It's not just the value issue.
You're 2020.
You're thinking, if I want this is the only time I'm going to get it, right? But we do know that improvements are typically made in later model years. Not always, but a lot of times.
So can you imagine yours is the worst because they've made it all better?
So good luck. You're sticking with that car for life, right? You're not going to sell it. Why would anybody buy that one?
Pretty impressive for an SUV that cost nearly $84,000. At the time, the company spokesperson confirmed to Jalopnik that there would be no more Durango Hellcat. So they leaned into it.
Wait a second here, though. They said there weren't going to be any for 2022, which is correct. But then they brought it back. I mean, right? But it is ridiculous, right?
Come on now.
It's supposed to be special model, etc., and then they come back with it.
Yeah, I'd be a little irritated. So then in the summer of 2022, Dodge announced that the Durango Hellcat would return for the 2023 year, which immediately pissed off existing owners. Yeah, I can imagine. According to car complaints, the owners reference both Tim Kaniski's statements about the Hellcat being available for just 1 year in Dodge's promotion and promotional. It's like promotional.
It's very promotional.
It's promotional and emotional. Promotional. More mom is involved. That's how promotional it is. Promotional. And press materials as evidence for the case. But what are they gonna win? If you sue them now, any losses are going to be perceived for the value from the time then to now.
Exactly. I don't know how this is going to quite work.
Wow. So whatever happens, they say in this article, this case doesn't seem as if it'll be over anytime soon. Meanwhile, Dodge has continued production of the Durango Hellcat. There's currently 3 2025 model year special edition versions available to those with deep enough pockets, going all the way up to $115,000. A hell of a lot of Hellcat. And more than the 2021 Hellcats. Because they were $85,000. Now it's $115,000.
Well, right. So I'm sure the company is like, oh, you got a deal on the original one, but...
Yeah, but this one's better.
But part of the pricing is set based on exclusivity, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Even that should be an elevated price, I would assume, for the first year.
Wow. So according to car complaints, Dodge claims that the company's language at the time, both in official announcements and the words of Kaniski, never stated that the Durango Hellcat would never go back into production. It's basically, this is the end of the number for the 2021 model year.
Yeah. But I also find it fascinating that the media reported on the fact that it was only going to be a 1 year
And nobody
release.
corrected them from Dodge?
Well, no, they even got
Dodge to
Dodge
say.
input or whatever for that. Yeah.
But
Like,
what
I don't
they
think it was
said,
that the reporters doing it wrong.
but what they said was that only this number would be made. But they actually, even on the initial model year, they did 3,000 instead of 2,000.
Well, that's interesting too. So it seemed like that would be part of the issue too, and maybe it is.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that there is some let them believe whatever they want, and we'll pick up the pieces later.
Well, exactly. And meanwhile, right? No,
Selling money.
no press is bad press or whatever.
No press is bad press. That's right. It's such a funny turn of phrase because people go, well, what the hell? I don't quite get it. But think of the obverse of what you're reading. No press means that you're not in the press, and that's the only bad press
Right.
there is.
Nobody knows you're there. Some people will only know about these because of this issue, and they may
Correct.
go, oh, that's a cool car. I want to go buy one.
Yeah, exactly. And now they can get it because it's still in production. Oh, take that.
Exactly. Much to the chagrin of the original owners.
Good God, man. If I spent $85,000 thinking that it was going to be exclusive only to get it
Oh,
tanked.
my goodness. Well, they were pretty mad. They all went into, not all, some of them went into a lawsuit.
And the more that find out, I'm sure, I'm sure that the class action is now rising. Although it's a limited number of people, 2,000 people, does that make a class? Is that big enough to form a class?
Yeah, good. And I mean, maybe some of them don't realize that there's more out there, but
exactly.
now they do.
It's like a never nude. There's dozens of us. Anyway, the last article
Check out Arrested Development if you need to find that reference.
What the hell did that dude say? Never nude? What? Anyway, the last article for today, for the March 2nd, 2025, FourWheeltech is it's over in FourWheeltech. Lucid boss quits after company loses $300,000 for every car sold last year.
That doesn't even make any sense. How much would they have lost if they didn't sell the cars?
Lucid is burning through cash at an alarming rate as it tries desperately to avoid the same fate that hit defunct automakers like Canoe, which still has my deposit, and Nikola, which I never even bothered. But so these are land yachts. These are electric cars that are for the well-to-do.
Right. Yeah, they look like luxury kind of sedans, I guess.
They are, yeah. I mean, if they were ICE vehicles, if you got them too close to a large enough body of water, a big old propeller would descend from the trunk and you'd hear whale song. No, I'm not going to do it. Anyway, so...
we need the whale joke.
Yeah. Go home, Dad. You're drunk. So over the course of 2024, the company posted net losses of $3 billion. Hold on.
So is this going to be the next Fisker?
Yeah, but worse because there's a lot of these cars actually out floating around. And it's been around for 18 years. It was formerly known as Ativa Incorporated. It is, I don't know where it, I mean, it seemingly is a U.S. company, right? I thought
it says it's an American EV startup.
Yeah, but I think it's like funded by
but then
Chinese.
It says it's Saudi backed. It's not Saudi.
Yeah, so it's really weird because Bernard Say, Sam Wang, Shup Young Lin are the founders. And in 2014, Beijing Automotive Industry Holdings, or BAIC, a state-owned car maker, acquired 25% stake in Ativa, and Ativa received investments from various companies, and then others got involved. I don't know. It's all a corkscrew of investment and stuff like that. But I would probably say that it's guided by Chinese investment. But It announced a further $1.5 billion in funding in 2024 from its majority shareholder, AR Third Investment Company, an affiliate of PIF. And there was a SPAC involved. So there's so much money flowing. Lucid Motors in 2021 announced a deal valued at $11.75 billion to merge with Churchill Capital Corp 4, which is a SPAC.
Also, if there's so much money being thrown at it, but then it's maybe like we see with the equity buyouts of other companies.
Well, I won't publicly get into it. We can talk. But let's just say when there's this much and this little, I suspect.
Yeah, there's something not adding up with the numbers.
Yeah,
right?
So over the course of 2024, the company posted net losses of $3 billion for the year compared for $2.8 billion in losses a year earlier. So in 2 years, it's lost $5.8 billion.
Like that seems almost impossible.
So for every car that was sold last year, it lost $300,000.
Yeah, that just suggests that there's more to the story here, which we don't know what is going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, he'll be replaced by the head of Lucid by interim CEO Mark Winteroff. Peter Rawlinson is stepping down.
Do you think, though, if you're a Lucid owner, do you think you should be watching out and kind of thinking about what could happen if the company goes under?
Yeah, I mean, just look at Fisker, look at Canoe. Fisker actually was doing production, but it wet the bed. Canoe was barely getting contracts, and then when it did get contracts, it was limited to like the USPS had a contract.
I think it was the UK equivalent, but yeah.
Well, no, I thought it
was
maybe
it was US. I don't know.
It was US. But they had some in the UK because we actually saw the Canoe actually driving around in the UK. Anyway, so Lucid burst onto the electric vehicle scene with its Air sedan back in 2021. The automaker sold around 10,000 of the $70,000 EV last year, which was up from 6,000 units a year previously. I want to know why this never really took off, yet you have Teslas that are... But I know that
I can tell you why. The price point, it's double roughly what Teslas were. Now I know there's higher priced Teslas, but
right. But this
70,000.
This is more along the line of the S, not the 3.
Right, absolutely. I mean, there's different models, etc. But I just think a lot of buyers can't afford a $70,000 EV.
Yeah. Well, and remember, Tesla was not created by Musk. It was created by 2 other original founders. Anyway, fake it till you make it. Anyway, so we're going to plug into our charger, and that's going to bring us back to the front page of FourWheeltech over at ohmtown.com. You can go there and become a citizen. And then you can come and talk to us, and you can even submit articles, because when you become a citizen, you get a 7th icon right there that allows you to submit news to us, even sources for us to evaluate and include in our daily streams and our weekly streams, and include into our aggregation service. So we get a little bit of news. It looks kind of like this all the time. A little snippet, and then we forward you over to the source. But anyway, we are done for the day, folks. So go back and watch all 1900 episodes. I am Mayor Watt, signing off from ohmTown, and I'm taking the AI with me.
Bye-bye, I'm Tom Citizen. Thanks for joining us for this week's FourWheeltech. We will see you tomorrow for our regular daily show.
Bye-bye.